Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a closer look at Maglev cars.
Oh, yeah, those futuristic-sounding vehicles, the ones that use magnets instead of wheels.
Exactly. We've got some really interesting articles about Japan leading the charge.
Yeah.
Really pushing the boundaries of this technology. It's not just science fiction anymore. We might be seeing these things on the roads sooner than we think.
It's pretty amazing stuff when you think about it. I mean, imagine no more noisy engines or bumpy rides.
That's right. We could be looking at a future where cars just glide along silently, almost like they're floating on air. In fact, they kind of are, right? A few centimeters above the road, suspended by magnets.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But it works, you know? They use these super powerful magnets embedded in the tracks, and they interact with these special materials, diamagnetic materials they call them, in the car itself.
Diamagnetic materials. Sounds complicated.
It is, a bit.
Yeah.
But the basic idea is that these materials create a repulsive force when they're near a magnet.
So they're basically pushing away from the magnets in the track.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the car lift up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they figured out how to, reverse gravity in a way.
Reverse gravity. That's one way to put it. But less friction obviously means less energy wasted, right? I mean, that has to be good for the environment now.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most promising things about Maglev cars is their potential to be incredibly energy efficient. Think about it. No engine, no moving parts in the traditional sense, less friction, less drag. You know, some studies even suggest that Maglev cars could reduce emissions by a lot, like up to 90% compared to those gas guzzlers we're all used to.
90%. Wow, that's huge. Even compared to electric vehicles, that's a game changer. We're always talking about ways to combat climate change, and this could be a big part of the solution.
I think so, too. It really aligns with the global push for clean energy and, well, just a more sustainable way of life. But, you know, like with any new technology, there are always hiccups along the way.
Hiccups, you mean challenges, roadblocks.
Yeah, exactly. Roadblocks. Like, for example, one of the big ones is managing all that kinetic energy. You've got this car, it's levitating, it's moving at high speed. That's a lot of energy, right?
Right.
Figuring out how to, minimize energy loss during operation, you know, keep things running smoothly and efficiently, that's a major focus for researchers right now.
It makes sense. It's like they have to make the system almost perfectly efficient to make it viable.
Pretty much.
But even if they can crack that code, there's the whole issue of infrastructure. I mean, where would these Maglev cars even drive? Our roads are built for cars with wheels, not, floating cars.
That's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Building a dedicated infrastructure for Maglev cars, it wouldn't be easy. It would be a huge undertaking. I mean, we're talking about potentially redesigning entire cities. You know, think about it. Elevated Maglev tracks running through urban areas. It's almost like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, almost like a scene from Back to the Future or something.
Exactly. But, you know, it's not just about the cool factor. Think about the opportunities for construction companies, engineering firms, and, you know, all sorts of new industries that could emerge around this technology. It could be a real boom.
Yeah, whole new ecosystem built around Maglev. An interesting thought. And what about the existing car industry? How would they adapt to this Maglev revolution?
Now, that's where things get, I guess you could say, interesting. Imagine, you know, no more engines, no transmissions, no exhaust systems. It's like the whole concept of what a car is would have to be completely reimagined.
We're talking lighter, more aerodynamic vehicles.
Right.
And that would change the way cars are designed and manufactured, wouldn't it?
For sure. And the materials, too. Think about it. We'd need all these new materials that are, specifically engineered for Maglev technology. Materials that can handle the stresses and strains of levitation at high speed.
Yeah. And that would have a ripple effect on the whole supply chain, right? New components, new materials, new manufacturing processes. It's like almost like hitting the reset button on the entire automotive industry.
It's a pretty wild scenario, you know? It makes you wonder, will the big car companies be able to keep up? Or will we see new players emerge, companies that are, specifically focused on Maglev technology?
It's a great question, and one we'll definitely be exploring further. But, you know, for all the excitement and the potential benefits of Maglev cars, we also need to talk about the elephant in the room.
The elephant.
Yeah, the safety. Any new technology, especially in transportation, raises safety concerns. And with cars that are literally floating above the ground, well, there are some unique challenges to consider.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Safety is definitely a big one. I mean, what happens if the system fails, you know? Like, how do you stop a car that's levitating at high speed?
That's a great question, and one we're going to dig into right after the break.
Well, it's definitely something to think about, isn't it? I mean, we're so used to cars having, regular brakes, tires on the road. If something goes wrong, you slam on the brakes. But with Maglev, it's a whole different ball game.
Yeah, it's like you're relying on these magnetic fields to keep the car floating and moving. But what happens if that magnetic field, gets disrupted somehow? Or if the system fails completely? How do you bring a car that's, say, zooming along at 70 miles an hour to a safe stop?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Researchers are working on, sophisticated braking systems that can kind of like transition the car from that levitating state to a controlled stop. But, it's not easy.
Especially when you consider that these cars could be traveling at, like, really high speeds.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, it's not just about stopping one car. You got to think about, like, multiple Maglev vehicles sharing the same track.
Yeah.
Imagine if one car has to brake suddenly. How do you prevent a chain reaction? Avoid collisions with the cars behind it. It's a real challenge.
It's almost like, air traffic control, but for cars.
That's a good analogy. And just like with air traffic control, any kind of human error or system glitch could have serious consequences, especially when you're dealing with, vehicles moving at high speeds. The stakes are pretty high.
No kidding. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about making sure it's safe and reliable. We're talking about people's lives here.
Right, exactly. And, another thing that we haven't really talked about yet is weather. Like, how would Maglev cars handle, rain or snow or even strong winds?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, those are all things that can affect regular cars. So it makes sense that they would also impact, cars that are floating a few inches off the ground.
We're talking about a system that's, based on a really precise balance of forces, magnetic forces, anything that could disrupt that balance, like a strong gust of wind or ice on the track, it could cause problems.
You're saying like a gust of wind could push a Maglev car off course, or ice could interfere with the, with the magnetic levitation. That's kind of scary.
Yeah. It's definitely something that engineers would have to take into account. They'd need to design systems that are, robust enough to handle a wide range of conditions, not just like perfect weather.
It's almost like you're trying to, predict the unpredictable.
But I guess that's the nature of innovation, isn't it? You're pushing the boundaries. You're venturing into uncharted territory.
Exactly. And that's why, thorough testing is so important. And redundancy in the system, backups upon backups. We need to be as sure as we can be that Maglev cars are safe to operate, in all kinds of situations, not just ideal ones.
Makes sense. It's exciting to think about the possibilities, but yeah, safety's got to be the top priority. But, stepping back for a second, if we can overcome these challenges, if Maglev cars do become a reality, think about the impact they could have on our cities, on our lives. Oh, yeah, for sure. Imagine, no more traffic jams, no more road rage. Just like smooth, silent cars gliding through the city. It could be a whole new era of transportation.
It would be amazing. Quieter cities, cleaner air, faster commutes. People could get where they need to go quicker and with less stress.
Absolutely. But, there's also the question of accessibility. Like, would Maglev cars be affordable for the average person? Or would they just be, a luxury for the wealthy?
Yeah, that's an important point. We don't want to create a transportation system that only benefits the elite. It's got to be accessible to everyone.
Agreed. It's something we need to think about carefully. But, while we're on the topic of Maglev, it's not just about cars, right? There's a whole world of potential applications for this technology.
Oh, yeah, like what?
Well, think about transporting goods, like cargo. Imagine a high-speed Maglev system for moving freight across the country. No more trucks on the highway. Or, personal rapid transit systems, like individual pods that whisk people from point A to B on demand.
Whoa, it's like the transportation equivalent of the internet, right? Everything connected seamlessly.
Exactly. But like we've been saying, there are challenges, technical challenges, safety concerns, the whole infrastructure thing. It's not going to happen overnight.
It's a journey. A long and winding road.
But it's a road worth traveling. The potential benefits are just too great to ignore.
I agree. And, it's a reminder that progress isn't always, a straight line. There are always bumps in the road, detours, setbacks.
It's part of the process, isn't it? Trying, failing, learning, and trying again.
Exactly. And that's what makes it all so exciting. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive. We've talked about safety concerns, the potential impact on cities, and even some, far-out applications of Maglev technology.
It's been a great discussion. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to wrap things up and, leave you with some food for thought, some things to ponder as you navigate this ever-changing world of transportation. And we're back for the final stretch of our deep dive into the world of Maglev cars. We've talked about the tech, the potential, the challenges. It's been quite a ride.
It really has. We've covered a lot of ground, from the physics of how these things actually float to, like, what a Maglev city might look like.
I know, right? It's a lot to wrap your head around. But it's exciting stuff. I mean, think about it. We could be on the verge of a transportation revolution.
No doubt. But, revolutions aren't always easy. There's going to be, bumps along the way, challenges to overcome.
Oh, for sure. Like we've talked about, there's the safety aspect, the cost, building the infrastructure. It's a massive undertaking.
It is. But I think, if we can get past those hurdles, the payoff could be huge. Imagine cities with cleaner air, less noise, no more traffic jams.
It's like a utopian vision of the future.
Yeah.
But, one thing that keeps coming back to me is, accessibility. We got to make sure this technology benefits everyone, not just the wealthy.
Absolutely. That's a crucial point. We can't create a system that, leaves people behind. It's got to be affordable and accessible for everyone.
Exactly. It's about progress, but it's also about, social equity, making sure everyone has the opportunity to benefit.
Right. And that's going to require, careful planning, collaboration between governments and industry, and a real focus on sustainability.
No doubt about it. So for anyone listening who's, totally hooked on this Maglev thing, what's the next step? Where can they go to learn more?
Well, I'd say stay curious. Keep reading, keep researching. There's a ton of information out there. And, don't be afraid to, reach out to experts, ask questions, join online forums, whatever.
Yeah, engage with the conversation. It's a topic that deserves our attention. The future of transportation is something that affects all of us.
Absolutely. And, at the end of the day, it's about I guess having a vision for the future, a future where transportation is cleaner, more efficient, and, just better for everyone.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Maglev cars.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It really has. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep imagining the possibilities.